John Alcoholic.
Hey, John.
Really grateful for you guys hanging out with us the whole day. I'd have been long gone by now. I'd be watching football with my feet up, yawning. Let's take a second to invite God back into this session. Amen. The 11th step in the book, picking up at the bottom of 85, step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on the matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. My prayer life has changed dramatically, especially since my second surrender. From years 1 through 18, it was more of a systematic, almost booby trap, like I'm tricking God into keeping me sober. I'd wake up every morning and I'd ask God to help me stay sober, and I'd rattle off the 3rd step prayer and the 7th step prayer so fast it'd make your head spin. No thought at all at what I'm doing. And now I don't say those prayers unless I'm doing it with a new guy, or I'm with you or whatever. And when I said this, I think last night, when I'm taking a guy back through the steps when we do his 3rd step, I say, put the book away. Let me hear your surrender. Let me hear it from your heart. And because this is about, for me, developing a relationship with this power. It's not about the right system. There's some great systems out there, but I need this personal relationship that Bill talks about. For a long time, I shied away from meditation, but I've prayed consistently my entire sobriety, every morning and every night. It's just what I was trained to do. And it's been very effective, obviously. But for the second half of the 11th step, talking about meditation, I just, I could not sit still, and I thought meditation. My problem was I thought meditation, the definition of meditation, was sitting still and being absent of thought. Right? I'd say, man, I just can't turn my brain off. Anybody? Right? I mean, that's why we don't meditate. I just can't turn my brain off. That's just an excuse. Right? Meditation is not the absence of thought. There's a million great definitions of meditation. One of them is just being present in the moment. And it's a practice. And so I can practice as these thoughts come in, ignore them, and let them go. Staying in the present. And I love that visual that I gave you earlier of this golden umbilical cord, and the power is flowing one way. And I visualize taking the clamps off that umbilical cord with, we're going to talk in a second about this nightly inventory in the 11th step, but you really want to do a hardcore inventory. Sit down, make a decision to meditate for 8 or 10 minutes, and what's popping up, right? What's haunting you? That's the inventory. This thing that keeps popping up that's not getting dealt with. And so I was given the permission to do this poorly. The greatest thing that ever happened on meditation, which is just suck at it. And now with the great invention of our smartphones and these apps that we can download, there's a million different ways to try to meditation. Guided meditation, visualizations, chanting, all different kinds. Scott's going to do a meditation here in a minute, but I like talking about this. The nightly inventory on 86. There's a whole list of questions that I share with the guys that I sponsor and some of the guys that they sponsor. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others and what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, because that would diminish our usefulness to others. And so what I do with the guys I sponsor, we share this nightly inventory via text. A lot of us like to do it in a group text. It's a fantastic way to stay accountable. There's 10 of us in this one group text, and we all get to see what's going on with each other, because I believe our greatest gift to each other is our transparency. And after a couple of days, someone's not participating, they'll get their we'll bust their chops. Hey, where you been? All types of stuff. And we all stay involved in it. And for me, that is a really useful tool. And however you do it, I know guys that do it. They just journal every night and answer those questions. But having the accountability of on the phone is fantastic for me, because every time someone else's inventory comes in, I'm like, oh, I guess I got to do it. If I do it by myself, I'm less likely to do it. And going down to the bottom of 86, Scott touched on it earlier, this staying in today. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking. And when I was, going through this cruddy storm that, I caused in my life, every morning I'd wake up and just the monkey was on my, the second I woke up, my brain must have been thinking about it all night long, like, God, are we going to get divorced? Are they going to foreclose on the house? How am I going to afford to pay these bills? What am I going to say to my kids? How am I going to get another? All these lists of these problems, and I was given the instruction to, before I do anything, before I go pray, before I go to the bathroom, before I shave, before I do anything, to start my knees on my day on my knees with this prayer. Because it says, before we consider our plans for the day, God, direct my thinking and ask that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance. After all, God gave us brains to use. For me, this 11th step is just another level of surrender. At this point in my life, it's everything is God's. I've gone from the rest of my life is none of my business to everything is God's, and that's how I try to live my life today. Is that everything that is in my life today is not mine. It's just a much freer way to live. My job, my car, my wife, my kids, they're not mine. These are things that I get to experience along the way. And it really has given me a lot of peace.
Thanks. Yeah, it says on awakening, Don Major told me, he said, it doesn't say after a shower and shave, 2 over easy and bacon, a half a pot of coffee, reading the front page, and a fight with her. It says on awakening because guys like Scott are capable of making life-destroying decisions between the bed and the bathroom. And that's exactly right. I wake up with untreated alcoholism every morning. I need my medicine. Powerful stuff. It says there when to pause when agitated, which I think is very easy to do, except when I'm agitated. Right. And I need to be constantly reminded of it. Someone asked me not too long ago, I'm sober 35 years, which is a long time for a guy that only agreed to 28 days. And he said, where do you think your growth comes from these days? And I said, I think 2 things. One is going out of my way to try to carry the message, which we'll talk about in the next session. And the other one is meditation. That sitting quietly in God's presence, I am healed, I am changed, I don't change me. I can't change me, but I can change what I do today. And as I change what I do today, day after day after day, I become changed. But I don't change me. I don't have the power. A lot of good stuff on those pages. I think they're really self-explanatory. And I do want to talk a little bit about meditation. And the meaning of the word meditation has changed in my lifetime. I remember when the Beatles brought the Maharishi to the United States. And then it changed. And now when you use the word meditation, people think of the Eastern religion, kind of thing that we were talking about. But we look up in a 1930s dictionary, and we find under meditation, an example is a general will meditate a war. It means he would sit and plan. That's what meditation used to mean. And if you read the On Awakening part here on 86, that's what it describes. I think they're both valid, and I think they're both important. And I led my first men's retreat in the summer of 1989. I took 3 guys that I sponsored to a Fall Creek Falls State Park. You guys may know where it is. It's between here and Nashville. For a weekend of prayer, meditation, reading spiritual literature. We did fish once, but we didn't play with the people we rented the canoe from. We simply rented the canoe. It was just the 4 of us contained. And we were sitting Saturday. It started on Thursday night. And on Saturday night, we're sitting there. It's autumn. It's about this time of year. Beautiful. And the sun had gone down. It was dark. The only light in the room was from this beautiful stone fireplace. And these 4 guys are sitting there. And we're talking about a woman in our home group has just come out of a coma. She was in a coma about 6 weeks. And she said that while she was in the coma, she could feel the love and the prayers being sent to her. We're talking about that. And what I'm going to share with you this afternoon is called the love meditation. And it was literally born there. We didn't write it. We didn't invent it. We didn't make it up. It just showed up. And I don't do very well with visuals, but my best guess on this one is that what we're going to do is we're going to send love to some people. And for me, mine is a column. Mine is silver and it shimmers. John says his is gold. It's about the size of the top of my head. It comes down out of heaven, down through the top of my head, out my nose, my mouth, and my chest. And I just send it to places. And I sent it to this room this morning prior to getting out of bed. I sent it to Miss Linda for her day. I sent it to some people I know that are having a pretty hard go right now. I sent it to some other people that I just love. But I begin and end my days with the love meditation. And I'm going to take you through it here in a little while for those who are inclined. For me, there are 3 states of consciousness. There's awake, asleep, and the one that lies between. It's the one where if the phone hadn't rung, you'd have been asleep in 3 more seconds. The body is out, although it's still there. The mind is awake, but not terribly alert. You know where I'm talking about. And in meditation, I can go there and stay. And when I started leading this, I thought, well, I'm not going to get to meditate. It's not true. I go there better leading this than any other way. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, but so many things on the spiritual side don't. I'm going to name some people for us to send love to. I may name somebody you don't have. I could name brothers and sisters and you're an only child. Pick somebody. There's not a mistake available. I could name someone for you that's gone to the other side. My parents are gone. We're going to begin with our mothers. So if you've got somebody on the other side, send them the love. I believe they get it. I'm going to do some readings out of the 12 and 12. They're from the 11th step in the 12 and 12. I'm not going to help you follow along. I'm going to ask you not to. They're consecutive, but I skip around. We're going to do some breathing exercises. We're going to flex and relax some muscle groups. I want you to use about 20% of your strength on the muscle group. We're just going to flex enough so that we can relax it. If you need to cough or sneeze while we're in meditation, I'd like to encourage you to cough or sneeze. Easier to deal with than a blue person. A cough is like a sign on a highway. It was there, and then it's gone. Something disturbs my meditation. It's just a sign on a highway. It was there, and now it's not there anymore. If you want to stop your meditation anytime, you can just open your eyes. It brings me out of meditation every time. I had to do it 2 mornings ago for the first time in years. Absolutely years. I went someplace I didn't like, and I popped them open and came out. I don't remember the last time that's happened to me. So if you need to come out, just come on out. Just open. If you're not comfortable doing this, I'd like to suggest that you sit tight and just observe. It doesn't take a real long time. I think that's about it. So if you would, for me, body position is important in meditation, not in the sense of getting into the lotus position. If I get into the lotus position, they're going to bury me in a very strange-looking coffin because I ain't getting out. But so I have to get in a position where I'm not flexing anything. And Marion has already done it. And what I do is, if you will, humor me, okay? I've been good. Lean as far forward as you can in your chair. Now would be a good time to do that. Lean as far forward as you can. And slide your buttocks as far back as they'll go. And then sit up straight. And when you do, I think you'll find that you have an arch in your lower back. Your shoulders are over your hips and your head floats. I'm flexing absolutely nothing to sit like this. If I have to flex something, it's difficult, very difficult for me to meditate. A lot of people meditate lying down. If I do that, I get into very deep meditation, sometimes with sound effects. And yeah, but I hope you'll experiment. And so if you will, we've already invited God to this session. I normally open with that, but I don't find it to be necessary because we've already done that. If you will now, please close your eyes and just relax. And I'll begin with the readings from the 12 and 12. Those of us who have come to make regular use of prayer would no more do without than we would refuse air, food, or sunshine, and for the same reason. When we refuse air, light, or food, the body suffers, and when we turn away from meditation and prayer, We likewise deprive our minds, our emotions, and our intuitions of vitally needed support. As the body can fail its purpose for lack of nourishment, so can the soul. We all need the light of God's reality, the nourishment of His strength, and the atmosphere of His grace. To an amazing extent, the facts of AA life confirm this ageless truth. We will want the good that is in us all, even the worst of us, to flower and grow. Most certainly we shall need bracing air and abundance of food. But first of all, we shall want sunlight. Nothing much can grow in the dark. Meditation is our step out into the sun. Meditation is something which can always be further developed. It has no boundaries, either of width or height. Aided by such instruction and example as we can find, it is essentially an individual adventure, something which each one of us works out in his own way. Its object is always the same, to improve our conscious contact with God, with His grace, wisdom, and love. And let's always remember that meditation is, in reality, intensely practical. One of its first fruits is this feeling of forgiveness. Perhaps one of the greatest rewards of meditation and prayer is the sense of belonging that comes to us. We no longer live in a completely hostile world. We're no longer lost, frightened, and purposeless. The moment we catch even a glimpse of God's will, the moment we begin to see truth, love, and justice as the real and eternal things in life, we're no longer deeply disturbed by all the seeming evidence to the contrary that surrounds us in purely human affairs. We know that God lovingly watches over us. We know that when we turn to Him, all will be well with us here and hereafter. If you will now exhale and slowly inhale. And blow it out. And exhale. And slowly inhale. And blow it out. And exhale. And slowly inhale. And this time just release. Using about 20% of your strength, wrinkle up your face, clench your jaw, press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and exhale. And slowly inhale. And release. Flex your neck muscles and raise your shoulders up to your ears and exhale. And slowly inhale. And release. Make fists. Flex your forearms and upper arms and exhale. And slowly inhale. And release. This one will be shallow. Flex your chest and stomach muscles and exhale. And slowly inhale. And release. Flex your buttocks and your entire pelvic area and exhale. And slowly inhale. And release. Wrinkle up your toes. Flex your calves and thighs and exhale. And slowly inhale. And release. A summer's day, blue sky, puffy white clouds, flip-flops, Bermuda shorts, and a t-shirt, warm, comfortable, seated, but in motion, in a vehicle. You're seated in a bus and it's moving. And you're on the aisle about halfway back, and the bus is full of people. There are a lot of people on this bus, and they are having a good time. They're digging and scratching and laughing and singing and having the best time. And you look around and realize you know everyone on the bus. The folks that you see the most often are in your row and the row before you and behind you, members of your home group, people you live with, people you work with, folks from your church. And then further on toward the front and the back are relatives you only see at Christmas time and people you used to go to school with. And Everyone you've ever known is on this bus, and looking out the window you see the shadow of the bus and realize that on the roof of the bus there are containers. There are boxes and trunks of various shapes, and in them are the things that concern you. Everything from politics to religion to finance to romance are all in one or more of these containers lashed down tightly to the roof of the bus, and the bus has begun to slow down. And as the bus slows, the people on the bus become quieter, and the bus comes to a complete stop, and they're all quiet and they're looking at you. And you realize this is your stop. And you stand and walk to the front of the bus, and there one of the guardian angels who's driving says to you, all these people and all these things that concern you are going to be safe in my keeping while you're on your journey. Have a nice trip. And hits the handle, the door opens, you step off on the curb, the door closes, the bus puts up the hill. So people are hanging out the last couple of windows saying, we'll see you later, you're going to be fine. And the bus puts over the hill and disappears. And you stand alone but not lonely. Turning your back on the road, there is a path through the ankle-deep grass, and you begin to follow it up a small knoll, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Cresting the knoll and starting down the other side, rose bushes, yellow on your left and red on your right, left foot, left foot. Ahead of you, the enchanted forest, a beautiful, safe place, left foot, right foot. Following the path into the forest, off to your left, a squirrel sits on a stump watching as you pass, knowing you're both safe, left foot, left foot. As you advance, you begin to hear the sound of moving water, and you approach a small stream. Beautiful, clear water. It calls to you. Stepping out of your flip-flops, you step into the shallow water, and it's clear. It washes up only about a third of the way up your shins, but it feels like it's cleansing your entire body. It is so beautiful and so clear. And in the floor of the stream, there are stones, beautifully, beautifully colored stones, and there are red stones for love, and there are green stones for growth, brown stones to remind you of the fertile earth, blue stones for sadness and grief, without which there could be no joy, gold stones for joy and success, and purple stones to remind you you are the child of the greatest king. Possibly you bend over and pick up a stone or two, possibly not. Drop them in your pockets, but you begin to walk upstream, left foot, right foot, sloshing as you go, left foot slosh, right foot slosh. And with each step, the sound of moving water gets louder. The bed of the stream curves around to the left, and up ahead of you, across a beautiful pool, you see the waterfall. Off to your right, a cabin. Some old men sit on the porch, smiling. Staying in ankle-deep water, you move around to the left, and as far as you can see, beautiful flowers tended by magnificent butterflies, left foot, right foot. You approach the base of the waterfall, and there are stairs, and you start up, left foot, right foot. Looking behind the waterfall, there's a place for you to sit. Sitting comfortably, looking through the waterfall at the magnificent scene, absorbing God's love. God, please help us send love to our mothers. God, please help us send love to our fathers. God, please help us send love to our grandparents. God, please help us send love to our brothers and sisters. God, please help us send love to our children and grandchildren, those that we have and those that we will have. please help us send love to our spouses and sweethearts. God, please help us send love to our sponsors. God, please help us send love to our sponsees. God, please help us send love to people we know who are in need of healing or in need of a gentle passage to the other side. God, please help us send love to people who anger us, who vex our spirit. God, please help us send love to places on planet Earth where there's fighting and anger. God, please help us send love to each other in this room. God, please help us send love to all of planet Earth. Night has fallen and there are stars, and there are billions of stars, and they form themselves into great pinwheel clusters called galaxies. And in the Milky Way galaxy, far out on one of the spiral arms, an average star called the Sun. And on the third planet out from that Sun, in the northern hemisphere, on the North American continent, in the United States, in the Deep South, in Tennessee, in the northeast corner, in Kingsport, in this building, in this room. Welcome home. Please keep your eyes closed. We'll awaken slowly. If you'll now wiggle your fingers a little and stop. Now wiggle your toes a little and stop. Now slowly raise your hands up to your face and very gently pat the pads of your fingers on your cheeks. Just pat lightly on your cheeks. And bring your hands together and pat on your nose and eyelids and eyebrows and up to your forehead and separate them around the sides, patting very lightly, patting your ears and your neck and laying your hands back to rest. Drop your head forward, put your chin on your chest and roll around to the left and back and around to the right and back up right. Lift your left foot, move it about an inch away from the right. Lift your right, move it about an inch away from the left. Slowly raise your arms above your head like you're signaling for a touchdown, and twist your body and flex your muscles and cough and clear your throat. And bring your arms down and give yourself a hug. You deserve one. And when you think you're ready, open your eyes. And if you've opened them too soon, please close them again. Thanks. It never ceases to amaze me how deeply I get into meditation doing that. Never ceases to amaze me. I had an experience years ago. One of the fellows I sponsor has written some TV shows you've seen, and he got crosswise with his producer, and I told him, I want you to get up earlier in the mornings. I want you to send her 5 minutes of love before you leave the house, and get to work 5 minutes early, sit in your car and send her 5 minutes of love. And he said, roar, 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 roar. But he'd do it. I knew he would. Within a week, it was our habit in those days, he'd go out to his car about 10 in the morning, take a coffee break, call me from his car phone. And we're chatting one rainy morning, and I hear a tap on his window. I hear his window go down, a woman's voice, his voice. The window goes back up. He says, you won't believe it. Is that producer? She's on the way to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee and a muffin. Wonder if she could get one for me. And nothing will stand against love. I was a multi-line manufacturer's rep. I represented 25 companies in the hardware industry. And I hired a wonderful young Christian girl to work with me. Our biggest manufacturer represented a third of our income. If I lose them, I'm out of business the same day. There was a woman at that factory who was the pricing authority. Everything I did had to go through her, and she was almost impossible to deal with. I was certain there was a broom in their parking lot that she had ridden to work. She had to be that way because that house fell on her sister. There was no other explanation for the way she treated us. And Sheila and I are sitting one morning, and I'm running this woman into the ground, and Sheila's agreeing, and she says, wait a minute. We both know we're not supposed to talk bad about anybody. And I said, you're exactly right. I taught her the love meditation. And we began to open each business day sending that woman 5 minutes of love. It's been too long ago. I think it was later that week. It was no later than the end of the following week. That woman called my office. I've been on the phone with her for 10 minutes when I realized she called me to chat. She became very easy to deal with. A couple of months later, I went to Chicago to our national trade show. They had a hospitality suite, probably half again, twice the size of this room, several hundred people in it. Now, I go someplace where they're serving booze. I got rules. I go late. I leave early. I come through the door carrying my red cup. I've already got a drink. You don't need to offer me one. I got a telephone call scheduled with one of you. I got a way to get out of there. I don't go lightly. And I show up late at this thing, and she sees me coming through the door, and she starts elbowing people out of the way to get to me, to hug me, to tell me I'm the best rep in the country. And if she had more people like me and Sheila to deal with, her life would be so much better. And the room came to a stop because everyone in there knew her as we had. And I spent that entire trade show with people come up to me saying, how in the world? And I said, well, I'll tell you, but you're probably not going to like it. and I don't think anything will stand against love. I think it's the most powerful force in the universe. I was sober about 3 years, and I had my first sponsee who was going to live. And I was doing a meditation one morning, and I don't usually get visuals. And this particular morning I did. And he and I were out on the Buffalo River in a canoe. I was in the back, he was in the front. We were fishing, and I could see it in my meditation from my position in the back of the canoe, and also from a position about 100 yards, 200 yards off the port side. And just this beautiful scene, these two men that loved each other, that loved recovery, that loved fishing. And my monkey mind spoke to me and said words to the effect of, Scott, you rotten SOB, you're out on the river playing with Ron when you're supposed to be trying to get close to God by meditating. Now, you believe what you want to believe. I believe what I'm about to tell you. God spoke to me. I heard his voice. And I've heard it called a still, small voice. I don't know about still, but it was small. And I heard it in my solar plexus. I heard it here. And a very gentle voice said, if you want to get close to me, work with my people. And I came up out of meditation like stepping on a rake. And it just startled me out of there. And with my shiny 3-year chip in my pocket, I am not a skyrocket to success. What I hear him say is, help those poor people not as far down the path as you are. It takes me 2 years to realize it also means work with those that are much further than I am. And what I have discovered is that works every time. If I want to get close to him, I work with you. And it doesn't matter who's further down the path. It doesn't matter whose lesson it is. It doesn't matter. And then it occurred to me, if that channel ever opened again, and I could ask the God of the universe a single question and get an answer, what's my question? It took me months to finally come up with a question that was in bounds with all the principles as I understand them. And I am not going to take away your opportunity to try to come up with your own question by telling you mine today. If you took one of my handouts, my email address is the last line on the second page on both of them. And a month from today or later, when you have your question, if you'll call me and tell me your question, I'll tell you mine. But I don't want to take away your chance to have the experience that I had of wrestling that. You know, we get a lot of time driving in the car or doing something, and Rusty said that I'm not responsible for what I think, but I'm responsible for how long I think it. I can't keep garbage from showing up here. When it gets dirty up here, I can sweep. That is my responsibility. And one of the things I find really helpful to sweep with is that question. If I could ask God a question and get an answer, what would it be? I've had the same question for a long time, and it just occurred to me saying that to you, I need to see if I can come up with a second question. I'm going to work on that. It's a good thing for me to think about instead of whatever that garbage might have happened to have been. So I'll be happy to share mine with you a month from today if you'll share yours with me. And very few people take me up on that. Amazingly, almost all the ones that do have the same question that I have. They come to the exact same one. It has been amazing to me. I forgive a short soapbox, but it always rubs my foot the wrong way when I hear somebody say unconditional love. The word unconditional does not modify love. Love is by its nature without condition. And when we say unconditional love, we're implying conditional love, which I don't believe exists. Many of us grew up in homes with conditional approval or conditional acceptance where the love should have been. But unconditional insults love to me. The other one that troubles me is when I hear the term tough love. I've read a pretty good treatise on that in a book some of you are familiar with, and I didn't see the word tough in there. When I see people applying what they call tough love, it looks to me like unresolved control issues. I can tell somebody something they're not going to like very gently and with a lot of love from the heart. And I think that's the very best way to do that. Forgive the soapbox, that's just me. We had a couple extra minutes. John?
I'm not going to try to follow that.
We finished a little bit earlier than I thought we would. We're going to do step 12 and questions and dumb looks. So wow, I hate to do this. 14 minutes and 8 seconds. I'll give you a really long break this time. Wow.
Smoke two.